regularly visiting relatives to a dementia unit are called the regulars, and they have a set of character traits which keeps them going. They're committed, very committed, whether they come once a week, twice a week, or 3 times, even daily on occasions. They'll keep up that routine conscientiously and make it the priority. Also, the regulars are kind. You can't visit a dementia unit regularly in a committed, conscientious fashion unless you are kind. And those visitors that do come regularly spend the time and give the time. Usually half an hour, generally an hour, often more. They'll stay with the dementia resident, even half a day. For some of the relatives that live at the retirement village, the husbands will stay half a day with their wives and stay at their unit and have a cup of tea and a piece of cake and even join in the activities. So in this way, it's a very positive all-round effect that the relatives have for both the residents, the staff, and the unit as a whole. Those relatives that haven't got this manner, who are coming more out of obligation, then it tends to be more 10-minute visits, a quick visit, a token gesture more like, and of course they have care and love for their mother, but they don't engage with the unit. They don't acknowledge the residents, the other residents. They just come and see their mother and then go, and that's it. Whereas those that are the regulars, they get to know the other residents and they get to become part of the community, and a very important one. There was one relative, a female, a wife of one of the men who was at the unit. She was a lovely person. She found it very difficult actually initially, but warmed in time once she'd got used to the routine and what it was all about at the dementia unit. And once her husband settled, of course she settled more too, and she used to come very regularly. And often these people that come regularly like her mentor another dementia resident who isn't visited quite as much, or maybe isolated. And she did this. There was a woman there who was from Southeast Asia, and she had this language. Look, nobody knew what the language was. I mean, she couldn't speak English. She just chatted away in this unknown language. So no one could understand her because they didn't know the language. And except this woman did, this relative, because they developed their own sign language. And so when the relative came, the Southeast Asian lady would recognize her, and she'd chatter away and smile and laugh and hug her, and oh, she was so pleased. And then the relative would just chatter away back in their sort of new language that they'd discovered with each other, and body language mostly. And there was this lady, the isolated lady, had a regular visitor in her eyes. And this mentoring goes a long way, because it means that if you've got, say, a third of the relatives visiting regularly, and often one of them, or often most of them, will mentor at least one other person that they're friendly to and greet and maybe have a cup of tea with and sit down at the table when they bring along some scones and invite them to the table to have a discussion or whatever. So most befriend at least 1 or 2 people, and some relatives are fabulous. They actually befriend the unit, like generally as a whole. There was one woman who had a partner in the unit. He was quite disabled, Parkinson's, dementia, aphasic. He had a lot of difficulties. She was remarkable with him. She was so patient. And I think that's the thing. Those relatives that come regularly, the regulars, they do have patience and they do have tolerance, and they're prepared to give the time. It's really incredible. And this woman was very much of this ilk. And she was not just fantastic with her husband. The only one who could settle him down was her. But she was very caring and considerate to the other residents. You know, she'd make sure that if they'd missed out on a cup of tea, she'd call out to staff. If someone fell down, she'd go and get staff to come and help them up. She'd get residents a glass of water if she could see they were thirsty. She was remarkable because she had so much to deal with, really, with her own husband, who needed a lot of attention to settle. So she was dealing with that full-time, one-on-one, but still she'd make the time to give to the other residents. And she was very valued, much, loved really within the unit. And staff always enjoy the regulars visiting because they know that when the regulars are there, they'll be kind and friendly and warm. And that always helps in a dementia unit. When you've got relatives, nice relatives visiting, everyone loves that. Everyone gets a bit of the benefit. There's smiles all around and a bit of activity, socialisation. And if you've got relatives visiting, it's much less likely to have escalation in terms of distressing behaviour when relatives are there. When they're not there and people are feeling a bit isolated and, left on the lurch, so to speak, then that's when the escalated behaviour often ramps up. So visitors, positive, loving, compassionate visitors, the regulars, yes, very good. Regulars at a dementia unit are well favoured, well liked, well appreciated. As part of the community, it's fantastic what they offer and bring and give. So I've written on these topics in these two books, The Resident's Voice from a Dementia Unit and The Resident's Rise from a Dementia Unit, on Amazon and my website, pietavalentine.com. And just to let you know, those of you that don't know, my background is physiotherapy, lifelong physio, and the last 8 years working as a diversional therapist full-time in a dementia unit. And so this is where all this work was garnered. Lots of study, lots of research, 2 books, 700 videos or whatever it is. I mean, it has been a lot of work, I have to say, but I do enjoy the work. I love the work. I love the efforts that the dementia residents make. That's the main thing for me. They're just incredible, these dementia residents, the effort they make to be positive and kind and good, and the regulars that come and visit, and the staff that are so committed. So because of that, I'm committed with this work for people to be able to understand and know what's going on inside the walls of a dementia unit, which is often not known. Often we know what happens with dementia outside the walls of a dementia unit, but not inside. So this is what this work is about. So please subscribe if you're viewing this channel, to support this channel and pass on the links. Thank you.